Relax, thank you so much for being here. I want to say hi to everybody I met at Crossridge Coffee this morning. Good morning. Thanks for watching if you're here with us. And if you made it home in time to watch it live. I hope so. I don't know how I end up at these networking events at 7:30 in the morning, but thankfully they're all at coffee places or places with coffee so I can survive them because I'm not even really a night person. I'm a good 10 a.m. till about 2, and then I'm of no use to anybody. I also want to thank Sandy for becoming a coffee sponsor. Thank you so much for the coffee you bought us. I appreciate it so much. Sandy was on the show and it was just a fabulous, fantastic person. So thank you for buying us coffee. It's a great way to support this show if you're out there and you're loving watching us. Go to buymeacoffee.com/makeyourdayricher. And that's the way you can help us make sure that we continue to bring you shows Monday through Friday. Speaking of shows Monday through Friday, this is episode 228 of Make Your Day Richer. I think we should look at the past 227 episodes and see how many views we've had. A drum roll, please. 362,199. So if you were the first one to jump on today, you would be magical 362,200. And I thank you for that. I'm shocked every day. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's just me, 10 years old, playing in my bedroom again. And the fact that people are watching and enjoying makes me so, so happy. All right. Let's see. What else do I have to tell you? Oh, if you need help with your podcast because you love watching this one and you're thinking, I should start a podcast or I have a podcast and I need some help, send me an email at makeyourdayricher@gmail.com. We can get you hooked up, we can get you started, and we can get your podcast looking, sounding, and feeling amazing. All right? All right. That, I think, is all I have to tell you today because we have a good show, so I should probably start. Today I have a guest who is joining us with remarkable honesty about his own journey of hitting rock bottom and rising from the ashes. Josh Tomeoni describes himself as a derelict, a man rebuilt after years of disuse, neglect, and addiction. After a brutal divorce, Josh embarked on a messy, painful, yet ultimately powerful transformation, and now he's a men's coach, financial advisor, author, and podcast host. Let's start the show.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Josh, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Richard. Appreciate it.
I'm excited to meet you and to talk to you. We were talking before we went live about what a derelict is. And I think I'm the only person who doesn't, but maybe that means there's one other person. So can you tell everybody what that is and how you found out you were?
You are not the only person that doesn't know what derelict is.
Okay, good.
Guaranteed. Probably people's only reference to the word is from the movie Zoolander.
Which I've never seen.
He had the derelict campaign, and there was a moment where the other guy in the movie, Owen Wilson's character, looks at Zoolander and says, "Derelict my balls, Capitan." So you can look up that clip on YouTube later.
Perfect. We'll roll it in here.
Yeah. And I've thought about putting that on a shirt. I haven't done it yet. But anyway, that's not why I picked the name. The reason that I picked the name is that when I originally started my podcast, the Derelict Podcast, I started it because I felt with a lot of the experience that I had gone through in my life, I've been through plenty of failures, all the ones that any of your listeners or viewers have been through, I guarantee. Divorce, business failure, relationships, as a dad, you name it, friendship. And derelict means somebody who's disparaged or outcast, thrown aside. It also, in nautical terms, refers to basically a broken down vessel, a ship. So if you ever see a shipwreck, that's a derelict ship. If you Google derelict, you'll see a lot of pictures of like homeless people or buildings that are falling down, etc. And the reason that I chose the term is because I think that a lot of men specifically, not only for men, but my podcast specifically speaks to men. And I know your podcast speaks to men a lot as well. Men specifically, I think, have an area of their life where they might feel a little bit like a derelict, but maybe they don't have the freedom to share it. Because a lot of the times, from my experience, at least in our society, if a woman goes and gets therapy or a woman goes to a support group, etc., I think as a whole, society says, good job, you're working on yourself, that's awesome. If a guy does, it's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why can't you figure your stuff out? Like what's going on here? So the idea behind the podcast is giving men a space to be able to do that, not as a kind of like a whiny, I'm going to be in therapy for the next 30 years of my life sort of way, but just how do we deal with problems and failures and struggles real time, especially difficult life transitions like divorce, but then also deal with it and create the best version of ourselves and be okay with that, kind of that derelict piece of us. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but this is the part of me that I'm such a bad liar because I could roll over what I'm about to say, but I'm not. Okay. I literally thought that was like a diagnosis.
No.
But I was like, oh, okay, that's like a thing that you
diagnose you as
like,
derelict. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Hey, look, if you become part of the tribe, I will diagnose you as a derelict.
Perfect.
How about that?
We'll get like a little like sword, and you'll be knighted as
I'll just pretend. You can kind of see it, and like I have several certifications back here. They're not medical, but let's just pretend that that's the derelict doctor certification.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I'm gonna throw a couple letters behind your name in the description of this show.
There already are letters behind my name, so you can do. They're financial letters, but that's a whole other story. So.
Do you think that it's getting better, easier, more commonplace for men to start talking about stuff like this?
Here's what I'm seeing a lot in society today is that I see kind of two camps when it comes to men, and especially people that are speaking to men. And these aren't the only two camps. These are just the majority of what I see. One camp is kind of this stoic camp of go to work, get your stuff done, deal with your stuff, don't deal with any of your emotions, just kind of ignore it, move past it, work, right? It's the guys on Instagram that are constantly talking about working out in the gym for 6 hours. And if you just work out in the gym for 6 hours, you're going to be fine, which everybody knows is not true. It helps. Of course, I work out every day, so it definitely helps. I'm not against it. I'm just saying it's not the only key to a good life. And it's definitely not a key to emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, mental maturity, etc. So I see that side. And oftentimes on that side is kind of I hate the term because I don't believe in toxic masculinity, which could be a whole nother conversation, but it's kind of where that term toxic masculinity comes from, because a lot of the men in that space seem to have toxic traits, right? They come across and they say, well, just go sleep with as many women as possible. Just go do this, just go take advantage of people, etc. Right? And that tends to align with kind of that stoic, not always, but that stoic modality. And then the other side of it seems to be this soft, therapeutic, let's sit in our emotions. But a lot of the times that is coupled with victim mentality of, oh, woe is me, and the whole world is against me, and I'm so sad. And like, this is where you see the 38-year-old male that's living in his mom's basement, that's playing video games every day, that's eating pizza, that's not doing anything with their life because they just can't get past that. What I'm not seeing is a lot in the middle. I'm not seeing a lot of men that are admitting, like, I have failures, I have struggles, I have difficult emotions, I have to accept those, I need to be okay with those coming inside of me, and then also dealing with them and moving forward and trying to become a better, stronger, more masculine version of myself. And I think a lot of the reason for this is a lot of society right now seems to be kind of anti-masculine. They seem to, if you show too many masculine traits, the answer is have more feminine traits. The answer is not have more healthy masculine traits. And I think the best, how do I say this? The best prescription for toxic masculinity is healthy masculinity. It's not femininity. And that's where a lot of society, I think, disagrees. So what we're seeing is a lot of young men, specifically, you're talking 25 to 40-year-olds, especially, a lot of even younger, but a lot of young men are looking at any man that's saying masculinity is okay right now. And a lot of those men have a lot of toxic traits. So, but they're willing to follow them because at least they're saying, hey, it's okay to be a man. So there are a few voices in the space. I'm happy to give some names to anybody that wants to ask, reach out to me. But there are a few voices in the space, I think, that are very, very healthy in the masculinity space right now. But there's only a few, and we're trying to be another one of them.
Have you always been, like you were saying, like middle road, or were you on one side or the other, or have you kind of been on both sides and
Great question.
made your way to the middle?
Yeah, I've danced with both sides for sure. I'm divorced. When I was married, this was years ago now, but when I was married, I was very codependent. I was very prideful in a lot of ways. I was very, I've been in the financial industry for a long time as well, on top of the coaching that I do with men. And I was the typical guy that showed up in a 3-piece suit that was just stoic and just get your work done and everything else. But then I went home and I was kind of this whiny little codependent baby a lot of times with my wife. And it really took my divorce, honestly, was the biggest trigger for me. It really took my divorce for me to realize I'm not living my true self right now. I'm not living my healthy masculine self right now. And then I had to kind of rediscover what that was. And that's been a process that I've been on this journey now for 7 years, trying to figure out what that looked like. And along the way, I found that a lot of men feel the exact same way, especially a lot of middle-aged men like myself. I'm 41, and a lot of middle-aged men saying, hey, what does it mean to be a healthy man? It's the reason the middle-aged man goes and sleeps with somebody else and cheats on his wife or his partner or his, whatever, or gets a sports car, right? Has some sort of crisis because they realize I'm not living out my true masculinity, how I was actually built to be. And a big one for that is divorce. And that's why I work with a lot of guys going through divorce as well.
Can you talk a little? Yes. And I want to talk about divorce kind of specifically. I've also been divorced. And I think if it's often when you hear you got divorced, I think people normally go right to oh, what did the husband do? Right? What the poor wife, the poor. Yeah. Can you talk about talk about that in particular, and maybe some of the things that men fall into once they go through divorce or when they're going through?
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think a lot of the times people go to, well, what did the guy do? And frankly, even our court system is still set up this way. I mean, our court system still favors females. You can disagree with me all you want. Just look at the statistics. Look at how much money women get. Look at how much time with the kids women get. It's still a preponderance in the female arena. Now, it's better than it was in the 50s. Thank God I didn't get divorced in the 50s and get to see my kids once every other week for a day or something. Yeah. That would be way worse. But now it just means that you have to spend 6 figures to get an attorney to actually see your children. I mean, tell me that's fair. I don't think it is. So, however, here's the deal. Again, as men though, what doesn't help us is living in this victim mentality of, well, everybody's against us because we're a man. And also there's going to be people that are going to watch this that are going to say, oh, here's another middle-aged upper class white man complaining about how hard his life is. I'm not complaining. Let's be really clear here. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to be real with what the facts are. So part of the reason I work with a lot of men that are going through divorce is because I want to be to them what I didn't have when I was going through my divorce. And what I desperately needed when I was going through my divorce was not my therapist. He was helpful. He was a great therapist. It was not my attorney. She was great. She was very helpful, etc. It was not the mediator. They were helpful. I had all these helpful people. What I didn't have is I didn't have a coach. I didn't have somebody helping me have a vision for what does 2.0 Josh look like? What does Josh 2.0 look like? What does it even look like after you get through this process? How can you manage things as you're going through it? Because so I wrote an ebook, which by the way, I wanted to offer to all your listeners, viewers, etc., for free. It's on Amazon right now, but if here's the best way to do it. Go on Instagram. I am the Derelict Podcast. So just go to Instagram, the Derelict Podcast. And if you send me a message that says MYDR, right? The name of your podcast. So just type in MYDR at the Derelict Podcast. I will send you this free ebook. And here's what it is.
Oh, perfect.
It is the 5 biggest traps that men face when going through divorce and how to triumph over them. So the way I wrote the book is I went out, I interviewed dozens of people, and I said, what are the biggest mistakes you made going through your divorce? And if you could go back, how would you redo it? And I turned that into 5 things, and I wrote a book about it.
Wow.
So happy to offer that to you. Again, go to Instagram, the Derelict Podcast, MYDR, and I'll send you that ebook. But here's the biggest thing with that. What I notice myself is that when you're going through a tough transition like that, you maybe have an attorney, you maybe have a mediator, you maybe have a therapist, and all those people are good in certain ways of helping you get through it. But there's no one in those categories, including the therapist, that actually helps you with what does 2.0 look like? How do I not only get through this divorce, but become a better person because of it?
Mm-hmm.
How do I not become this bitter, resentful, cynical, I'm never going to find a relationship, all my relationships are going to be terrible from here on out, bitter person? How do I turn this into a blessing? Because I don't know about you, Richard, but for me, when I was going through my divorce, man, I thought my life was over. Like,
yeah,
my wife and my children were my world. That was the worst possible thing that could have. I would have rather had a health incident, cancer, whatever. I would have rather had that because they were my entire world. And I didn't realize how much of that attachment was actually unhealthy because I just wasn't comfortable with myself. I just wasn't good just being myself. And man, that's taken me years to figure out. And if I could help anybody do that faster and save a couple years of their life, I'm all for it.
And I love that you said that you were like still on this journey, right, of figuring out. And is that kind of where the podcast came about, to also learn from other people, which I'm sure you're doing in every episode?
Yeah, absolutely. So it didn't even start as a men's podcast. It didn't start as a divorce podcast. It's still not that. What it really is it's trying to help men with different areas of our lives talk about different topics. And then I bring guests on about different topics. So we've had plenty of therapists, we've had coaches, we've had mentors, we've had authors, and men, women. We had a woman come on a little bit ago to talk about dating, specifically post-divorce. It's just all of those different elements. And frankly, I learn from it, I think, as much as my audience does when I get to interview these amazing people that just have we had a guy coming out here in a couple weeks. He is a doctor who specifies in men entrepreneurs with ADHD, which is me and several other people. So it's just all these different topics of trying to break down the barrier of, hey, let's actually be honest about this stuff. Let's actually talk about it. Let's discover what it is, be real with it, and then figure out how to deal with it. It's okay to have problems and failures. Here, something for your audience. A lot of the times people hear the word failure and there's a sense of shame around it. And they feel like, oh no, I can't admit that there's a failure. If you look up the definition of failure, Richard, the first definition is just lack of success, which is not helpful. The second definition that you'll see when you look up failure says something to the effect of you missed or didn't accomplish an intended goal. So something you were intending and doing, something that you were trying to do, just didn't happen. It's actually a very, very light definition. It just means that you slightly missed the mark. Like you tried to do something or you wanted to do something and you didn't do it. It's really not that big of a deal. But we use this word failure like, oh my goodness, my whole life is over, right? It's like, it's so dramatic. Yeah. But if we could make that a regular just piece of our vocabulary. Like, it's okay that I failed, because every failure I've had has brought so much clarity. The most recent one, relationship wise, is I got out of a relationship of 2 years about 5 months ago. And the amount of clarity that I've had from the last 5 months of that would not have occurred when I was in that relationship has been incredible and life-changing. But it's only incredible and life-changing if we're willing to accept whatever that failure was, and then really just move into, stay curious about it and be like, well, why did that happen? What happened? What can I learn from that? How do I bring this into the next relationship? And instead of getting bitter and resentful and angry and fearful, it's hopeful, because it's just another problem to be solved.
Oh, and I so appreciate that you go out and share your story, your failures, and you're so honest about it, because then people know. It can be so isolating sometimes, and you think that you're the only derelict out there, and you're not. It turns out.
Absolutely. I had a friend years ago that I learned this from, and what he always used to say is, look, somebody's got to get naked and jump in the pool first. And what he meant by that was, if I share my vulnerabilities, then other people are willing to share their vulnerabilities. Try it. Audience, try it. Go up to anybody. Doesn't matter, stranger, anything else. Start having a conversation. Share something that's a little vulnerable. Now, again, be careful of privacy and everything else. I'm not saying share your deepest, darkest secrets. Try with a friend, right? Just be a little vulnerable and just see what happens. Because it's amazing to me, when I started coaching men, especially through divorce and everything else, man, all of a sudden, everybody was telling me their divorce story. And they were telling me all this stuff. And I would, what I would hear often from strangers that I just met? They would do that. And then they would look at me and be like, I've never told anybody that.
Why did I just tell you that? Yeah.
And it was just because I was vulnerable first, man. That was it. There's nothing, there's no secret sauce to it.
Yeah. When does the podcast come out? How often?
Every Thursday.
Okay, good.
It's on YouTube and all the other sources. I can send you a link if you want.
Okay, good. And what do you love most about your life right now?
Ooh, good question. I think what I'm most excited about is that, it always has to do with my kids, because I love my kids so much, and they are definitely my life. But then among that as well, is I'm really excited for how my coaching company is growing and how men are really interacting with what we're doing. And, my podcast only started 9 months ago, and there's been really good growth, and people are viewing it and watching it. And, people are coming to me for coaching, and I think that this is going to be a breakthrough year for that. And man, I just want men to feel good with dealing with this stuff and realizing that there's other men dealing with this stuff. Like, one of the saddest things to me, Richard, by far, is that the biggest segment of suicide is 35 to 50-year-old men.
Yeah.
It's incredibly sad to me, because I think that age of man just doesn't feel like they have anywhere to turn to be honest about the stuff that's going on with them. So every time I can have one of those conversations with a man in that bracket, like if you're in that bracket and you're struggling right now, send me a message on Instagram, please. I still respond. I have assistants and everything that, send messages and everything, but I still respond personally to any message like that. So send me a message, the Derelict Podcast on Instagram. I'm here for you. I know Richard is as well, because it just makes me incredibly sad. So I think that's the thing I'm most excited about, is just continuing this movement of men that are willing to deal with their struggles, deal with their failures, deal with their problems, deal with their pain, and move forward in life and just become the best version of themselves, for themselves first, then also for their spouses, their kids, their partners, etc.
What a great answer. Is your Instagram the best way to contact you, or what's the best way that people can do that?
Yeah, Instagram is great. I'm on there all the time throughout the day messaging people. So yeah, Instagram's great.
Okay, perfect. Josh, thank you so much for sharing your story, for coming on, and congratulations on such a successful podcast launch. And I am just so excited for you.
Thanks, Richard. I really appreciate it, man. It was
Come
really
back
fun
anytime.
to be on here. Thank you.
And don't forget to DM him on Instagram and get the free ebook. We're going to take a break and be right back after this. Don't go away.
Life is difficult. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like you could use a little support for your mental well being? Visit the Help Hub. It's the most comprehensive and inclusive free online destination for mental health resources, helpful tools, crisis hotlines, and supportive content. Just go to thehelphub.co to find the resources you need when you need them most. Unlike other resource pages, the Help Hub is divided into 16 different categories, ensuring that everyone in every community has access to the resources and support that matches their unique needs. Find the help you're looking for at thehelphub.co.
That's our show, everybody. Thanks for watching. Now's a good time to just share the show. It's over and be like, I loved today's show. I loved Josh. I'm checking out his podcast right now, and you should too. So that will also help us get us to 363,000 views by tomorrow. All right, go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I love you for it. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.